welcome to the Straight and Narrow Piano Bar here in Limehouse, London. I'm very pleased to introduce our very special guest today on the sofa with me, Mr. Brian Griffin. Brian, hi.
Hi, Vaughn. Good to be here.
Thank you. Oh, we've got an applause, thank you. Now, anyone who knows anything about photography will know who Mr. Brian Griffin is. Now, I have to get this out the way because as I was announcing this on Facebook, a lot of, especially the younger generations, were asking if it was the only Brian Griffin they know is the dog from Family Guy. And I don't know if they were expecting Seth MacFarlane, yeah, but are you familiar with Brian Griffin from Family Guy?
I'm determined to never watch it.
Okay, well I had to get that out the way. So, right, Brian, we're going to run through a few questions here, which have come through from some of your fans, and some selected by myself as well. Right, so Mr. Brian Griffin, you were born in Birmingham 21 years ago.
22 and a half.
Okay, and your career spans over 4.5 decades. And you've obviously photographed everyone who's everyone. Brian has, as I say, this particular interview could go on for ages because just due to the sheer volume of the work that this man has done. But just to mention a few, Brian has photographed Brian May, Elvis Costello, Joe Jackson, Peter Gabriel, R.E.M., Ringo Starr, Sir Paul McCartney, Kate Bush, Iggy Pop, Billy Idol, Sting, Depeche Mode, John Fox, and my favourites, Han Solo and Chewbacca. Could you explain?
Yeah, I mean, George Lucas had this crazy idea to build a studio for me in Elstree. How many years ago now? Probably 20, hold on, maybe 30-something years ago. It was an extraordinary thing he did, and I had a great time photographing Han Solo and Chewbacca and all the stars, really, of Star Wars. And I tried my hardest, but I wasn't that good at that time, really, as a photographer, I have to admit. And I submitted everything to George, really, and he just chopped it all out. He thought it was a load of rubbish, really, and sent them all back. And that was my learning experience, but it's like anything in photography, where as time passes, people come to realise that maybe it wasn't that bad, maybe it was interesting, maybe it was wonderful, maybe it was incredible. Time has that really strange effect upon photography. Because basically photography looks better anyway after a period of time. And my pictures for George look great now, but he thought they were dreadful at the time.
Well, he's not without fault as well. We won't talk about some of those reboots he did, but how old were you at the time when you did that? Were you a lot younger?
I think I was about 33 years old, really, and incredibly ambitious, thinking I was great, thinking I was just a wonderful photographer, which I wasn't. But I was full of confidence and I wanted to really get on, because my start in life wasn't easy, and my chances of succeeding in photography were pretty limited, or it would require a massive effort to actually become known as a photographer in my case. Came from a very humble background, like a beginning that you would describe as impossible to become known as a photographer. Little house down a back street behind the factories in the most industrialised part of the country. I wasn't brought up with anything fortunate. I didn't have a fortunate upbringing apart from developing a great imagination. And I was an only child, and I had plenty of opportunity, to develop my imagination. And fortunately, I grew up in an area that actually helped your imagination. It was an area called the Black Country, which is a very strange area. And basically it's full of visual humour. And yeah, it was a great start in life in a way. The most unfortunate start was a great start in life.
Yeah, Brian, I know you worked in a steel factory as well, but I think sometimes the way we grow up is what makes us, and I think some of the most fascinating people I've met have had very hard upbringings, and that they've had to sort of fight through adversity to get to where they want to be. But anyway, I respect, because I'm a producer and a musician as well, so we know how technology helps people these days. But just as musicians have had it easier for us these days, you did this in a time when it was very difficult. It was not like cameras. These days cameras have like a viewfinder and you can snap, 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 delete, delete. With you, it was kind of like you had to see it and do it. You didn't have like unlimited amounts of,
Yeah, I mean, I was really lucky, like every unfortunate circumstance that happened to me actually helped me to become a better photographer. Like I was thrown out of school and put in a factory, as Vaughn just said, so I became very good in mathematics, very good at, practical things, and I was very good in chess. I was a really top chess player, so I helped my portraiture. I was very good with mathematics, so it really helped my analog photography. And I could pull all these sort of fortunate talents together by sheer accident and produce interesting images. It enabled me to experiment in a way and develop techniques, build light machines, invent ways of using light, which is ably demonstrated in my music photography, because Vaughn was saying earlier that all the people I photographed, and I threw all my abilities, which I gathered by accident, and my book Pop, which is coming out in a couple of months' time, demonstrates it, whether it's twanging knicker elastic, or vibrating dowel rods, or it's just inventing crazy light machines. I invented so much, and I'm so happy that I did, because people could pick up this book called Pop and look at all these inventions and get fascinated by them, and maybe, I don't know, maybe think about their photographs a little deeper than they do at the moment, with, as Vaughn quite rightly said, with computers in front of people's eyes, they just go click. Maybe they'll just think more than a click in the future by just this little publication that's going to happen in a couple of months.
Thanks, Brian. Obviously, I've got a few questions here, but I don't want to stick too much to this because we're on a flow here. Now, I have, this was delivered this morning, which is a lot of people. I've actually got this on CD, but I thought the viewers deserve to see it on vinyl. There's a big research talking about how digital. There's a big resurgence in vinyl now. I think. Oh yeah. Everyone's coming back to doing things the old school way. But this now, if you can get that, I think anyone who knows that. This is from Depeche Mode's 1983 release, A Broken Frame. And this was, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, this was actually, this was done in 1983, but it was actually, I think it won an award in, was it 1989, for one of the best photos of the last 10, something like that. Explain.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite fortunate, really, this photograph, because as you all know, the wall came down, the Soviet bloc dissipated to a certain extent, fragmented. So this was quite an appropriate image. So it was on the front of Life magazine in 1989, declared as one of the greatest photographs of the decade. It was the front cover. Whilst a while back, way back in 1983, this country, believe it or not, which is not known to be that photographically focused, excuse me, and is declared it as the best photograph of the year, of course. And I dressed up as the Albert Hall and went on the stage, in front of 5,000 people. It's quite, you look on Facebook, you can see me wearing the roof of the Albert Hall and the Albert Hall itself around my tuxedo. It is a very famous image now. A lot of people have tried to jump on board and say, I did it, or it was because of me. But it wasn't because of anybody. We were there as the rain abated and stood there in a rainy, windy cornfield with my lights around. This Russian peasant had a wonderful stylist called Jackie Fry had styled, and waited for those clouds to open, and when the cloud had opened and the sun came out, we mixed it with my lights and magic happened. And we were jumping around like schoolgirls, like yelling and yelping, and oh my God, this is incredible. Because we had Polaroid at the time, we checked everything by Polaroid, looked at Polaroids, and we were like, just screaming boys, I should say, shouldn't I? Not sexist. And then we delivered it to the record company, which was Mute Records, run by a wonderful man called Daniel Miller, who ran Mute. And he came down and we all chuckled in the corner of my studio, just over the river here in Rotherhithe, and we sat down and watched him go to the light box, because everything was shot on transparency. And he looked down at the transparency on the light box, and he almost had a heart attack. He couldn't believe it. He was just like completely. And he's a great friend of mine. Daniel's a wonderful man, and he supported me tremendously, which led to me doing about 5 or 6 covers for Depeche Mode.
Which is interesting, and I know some of the guys, I'm a big Depeche Mode fan, they're the reason I got into music, and obviously we can't speak too much about Depeche Mode now. I think what Brian and I have decided is we will, he's actually got a print here with the autographs. I know that's Martin Gore's autograph, because he's signed an autograph for me. Is that Dave Gunn?
Exactly.
Is that who?
Dave Gone.
Yeah, that's Dave Gone.
Andrew.
And that's Martin Gore and Andrews, yeah?
Andrew Fletcher.
Andrew Fletcher, yeah. The three main.
And this comes in a special clam. This comes in a special clamshell box in my book Pop. It's a special edition, signed, and it comes in this beautiful box. This signed print by the band itself, who've been great in supporting my book, really. And it comes in this thing. There's a lot of money in this. I suppose it's like £750, I think, this print and the book. So, come here, Bob. I've just bought this one tonight to show the Facebook Live crew.
Thanks, Brian. For the Depeche Mode fans, Brian and I have talked about at a later. I'm not going to say anything in detail, but possibly later on at a later stage, we do want to do an interview with Brian where we discuss the complete, or probably a long interview, and we're looking at releasing a DVD, which will be, every album cover Brian did with Depeche Mode in his time with them. But that's coming a bit later. So just back to some of my other questions, Brian. We don't want this to go on too long. I want you to have some wine and let the lovely people meet you.
Thank you.
That is a. I just have one more question about this, and I've always wondered how much of it is a happy accident, because you look at it and you can kind of visualize it, but how much of it, did this come out better than you thought it would?
Actually, Vaughn, it's great seeing it, like this photograph. How old is this photograph, Vaughn? Your maths are probably better than mine, but 34 years old, something like that?
About that, yeah.
And I've looked at the printing in all variations, and I have to admit, it looks fantastic on this cover here. It looks, in fact, I have to admit, I have never seen it looking so good as actually on this printed cover that Vaughn's holding.
It's probably because it's still got the plastic on, so if we take the plastic off...
I don't know, I think, it could have been assisted, of course, but it looks so good.
It does look stunning, yeah. I'm not going to open this, actually.
It's beautiful like that. And what was your original question? I was so amazed at this.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry, my original question was, obviously, when you took this photo, you obviously had the idea. So it obviously turned out better than you thought?
Well, what happened is that in the late 70s, I went to America a lot, and I worked on magazines in America, Esquire and Rolling Stone, and I watched the American photographers mixing daylight with flash, and I was quite inspired by it, really, and I thought, in England, they weren't really doing it, but when they did it, it was really crass and awful. And I've always been really interested in fine art and painting, and I thought I'm going to develop that side of my work, and I had a studio down here, down in the Docklands here, and it gave me the opportunity of really honing and finessing my handling with light. And I took this knowledge and this inspiration from America outdoors. So to answer briefly Vaughn's question is the fact that it was incredibly planned. Really planned down to the finest degree. You had to find a cornfield, of course.
Okay.
I had to find a cornfield, which later on Kate Bush wanted one, and also Kodak wanted one in Australia. This corn, in fact, in this photograph was really grey and awful. We put some gels on our lights, and as some of the photographers in the room today will tell you that battery-operated flash equipment in those days was so weak and awful. So therefore putting the gels in front of the eyes, which changed the grey corn into warm, brown, I don't know, amber corn, killed the lights even further. And so therefore that's why the peasant on the, I shouldn't say peasant, should I?
Yeah, who is the person on there?
She's a 50-year-old woman, actually, a dancer, and she's quite near the left-hand side of the frame because we needed to go near the lights because the lights were so weak, you know.
Oh, I see.
And so that's why she's so far over on the left to get an exposure on her, which was greater than the daylight, so the daylight could be underexposed a bit to bring the drama out in the clouds and things like that. So it was incredibly well planned. It wasn't haphazard whatsoever. I guess that's the sort of guy I am. I've always really planned my work, you know. I'm an OCD character as well, you know. Oh, you one as well, Vaughn.
I do suffer from OCD, yes, but unlike you, I'm not very good at maths, and I can't play chess, so, which is interesting, because usually artistic people don't have this, they're not very good, no, usually they're not very mathematical, so that just shows the way your brain works. Obviously, then I know, obviously Kate Bush loved this image so much that she, you know, she approached you to do a, because I've seen the photos. If I forget to say it, obviously www.briangriffin.co.uk, you can see everything in glorious detail. It's a very, very good website. And then, you know, one of my questions I was going to ask you, Brian, was how much of you is technical and how much of you is artistic? And you're quite a flamboyant person, I think. I know you were very flamboyant in the 80s and stuff. And I was looking at, for instance, like some of your album covers and stuff. I was thinking, how much was he drinking at the time? But anyway, I just think it's all good. On to my next question. I'm not a professional interviewer, by the way. We're just a couple of guys talking on a sofa here. Right, now, we're going to talk about Pop, which is your book, which is coming up soon. But before we get to that, I would just like to ask you something which has intrigued me. In 2015, Brian, you released a book called Himmelstrasse in Poland, which was about the railway tracks to the concentration camps. Could you tell us, you know, what your, you know, why you decided to do that? Someone commissioned you, or?
I find it extraordinary now, reflecting back on such a tangential piece of work of mine. Like, it was a book on, as Vaughn has explained, a book that contains images. I mean, it's such a dark book. And it's nothing like me. Like, the whole book is like totally out there somewhere. And yet I was so excited going to do it. I was looking forward to every time I went to Poland in the cruel winter or whatever. And I just absolutely enjoyed every second of it. And I think it brings home to me, really. There's something out there in that all people can receive, and I think creative people receive it. There's some force, there's some being, there's some other thing that permeates into us and drives us and delivers us to do things. And I felt that book really was such an obvious book. No one's ever done it. You know, that took 3 million people to their deaths, and I did this book, which is nothing about my work. You know, we're talking about music. This book's out there somewhere strange, and it gives me confidence in that. I feel like any artist does that, or any creative person. I would call myself an artist. Oh, I made a mistake there. Photographer. That something is controlling me really, but that's another conversation, isn't it? And I'm just translate, as Vaughn said, I've got a technical side to me, so maybe I was chosen for a technical side, that I can get the exposure right, and something's controlling me to get the exposure right on certain issues. Maybe that's what it's all about.
Yeah, Brian, as I say, the years I've known you, because I was Brian's neighbour for a while, and I've always known you to be a very humble guy, which is nice. You know, a lot of people can get really up themselves who've done a lot less. Anyway, so my final comment on that on the book, you know, just looking at the imagery of those railway tracks, it was if you really stare at them for a long time, it's really haunting. Just especially because what you've done is you've captured how those railway tracks go into the infinity, and it's just like I'm getting goose flesh talking about it now, because just knowing what you're looking at, and this would have been, you know, what these people would have seen. Anyway, we're going to lighten it up now. We're going to talk about pop. I thought I had to get it here. So pop is basically, this would probably be one of the most definitive, probably like the story of your life. Now, this is a replica of what the book's going to look like. It's about 500 pages, and it's released on the 27th of October. But I'm going to let you take it from here.
Yeah, I mean, this book's taken so many years. It's been touched upon, it's been dealt with, like in a very, very, can we say, not really determined fashion all this century. The first interest developed way back about 2003, and then intense interest developed about 2008, and it remained dormant, and now 30, 40 years really. And it's all been put in this big fat hardback now. And the reason it's being launched on October the 27th is because I really like Poland. And I thought it'd be really nice to launch it in Poland. Yeah. And so it begins there. But we're going to bring it back home, aren't we, Vaughn?
Absolutely, yeah.
You're very big in Poland. Why is that? You're like I mean, here you can. I watched you walking down the street here. No one looked at you. Sorry. But when you go to Poland, you get stopped in the street. Is that right? Why is it? You're a bit like our friends Depeche Mode, where they were known, and also like the rock band Queen. They were called Britain's biggest exports because they weren't big here, but they were massive in Poland. What is it about the Polish? Why do they like you so much?
Well, I mean, they're just wonderful people. It's a fantastic country. And here, you know, I'm nothing. Over there, I'm as famous as an astronaut. Or, I keep on saying I'm as famous as David Beckham, but that's probably pushing it too much. Maybe an astronaut. But yeah, they really have taken to me, primarily because of my music stuff, I have to admit. And it's the biggest fan base for Depeche Mode. That's why they truly love me, you know, they find me important. Because those first covers, I don't know, they just love what I did. And they truly support me in a big way, really. So, Łódź, which is a city of 1.5 hours to the west of Warsaw, has taken me on board, really. And there's this great festival of music called Sound Edit, run by a man called Maciej Werk. Hi Maciej, I hope you're watching tonight. And also I'd like to say hello to Steve Naive of Elvis's Attractions. Hi Steve, great to see you. And I love you still, as you know. And Maciej Werk has put it all together. And we've got Daniel Miller, who I started with and did all the covers alongside him. And who ran New Records, he's DJing on the night. And there are some old favourites, and some eccentric favourites of mine, like the Residents are playing at the same time, which I've always loved the Residents. Gary Newman's playing. Hey, Gary. And also we've got David Bowie's band, you know, Holy Holy, with, as you know, he's producer in that band. So there's a lot of interesting people playing to all the Polish people. Please come along. And the show of Pop is going to have all the old vintage material. They're all photographs from the 80s. I've dug them out. They're not modern printed stuff. They're like how we used to print it on silver bromide, and they're all in old prints, and they're all being framed up for a special exhibition that Matchy Work is putting together in the main street of Woolwich. So it's quite an event, but then it's going to go other places after that, and yeah, it's going to be quite something. It's like giving birth.
You've never given birth, so you wouldn't know that, but
I've watched 2 births.
he's watched twice. But you know, they do say that childbirth is apparently more pain than a man can endure and we die. I don't know how they proved that, but anyway, let's not get off topic here. We have, Brian has, and this is not confirmed yet, ladies and gentlemen, but Brian has looked at the possibility of doing his book launch here at the Straight and Narrow. But he's in the background there. And thank you, Brian. We're always honoured to have such a great guest and a good down-to-earth guy. Now, I'm going to end this interview with a few quick ones. This is basically, who's the most famous person you've photographed? This could take you a while because you've done quite a few. So who do you think?
Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney.
And Ringo, of course.
Paul and Ringo. Is that because you're a Beatles fan?
Well, I mean, like in the 60s, I would look at the little 12-inch square black and white Echo television with my mum and dad, and I'd see all the girls screaming in the Shea Stadium.
Screaming for you.
And I was screaming for the Beatles. And then I'd see them all screaming again in Heathrow Airport, as they came back. And so to sit next to Paul and rub my shoulder against his shoulder. And we were both sitting on this little tight couch like this. And there was just Paul. He told everyone to get out of the room, and just me and Paul together. It was quite a moment. So I think that moment is the great moment for me.
Well, I'm sure Sir Paul McCartney is obviously watching this live tonight, so he must be really flattered. Macca, you're well up there, mate. Right, and one other question, Brian. Who deceased would you have loved to have photographed? Is there anyone that you could think of off the top of your head? Or is that a difficult one?
Oh, wow,
that is a difficult one.
Oh, that's a really thing, deceased. Okay, yeah.
Rembrandt.
Sorry, say that again?
Rembrandt.
Oh, Rembrandt. Okay. Vincent van Gogh?
Yeah.
I mean, Vincent would probably be even more interesting. He'd be quite out there, Vincent. Yeah. Vincent would, it's actually very good for, he would probably be more of an interesting subject. Although not a greater painter, they're both the greatest painters ever, virtually. But maybe photographically, a little bit easier to get a great picture from.
Good answer. I was scared you were going to say Del Winton or something like that. Just kidding. Cut. Right, and of course, my other question was why are you so big in Poland? Well, we've got that now. Final question, and of course this is a cheesy one, but I have to ask it. Any advice for aspiring photographers?
Don't do it as a profession.
You've done it for 45 years. Give them some hope.
But I mean, I've developed my position in photography through some of the great periods where, although it was extremely difficult to get on as a photographer, to develop as a photographer, in many ways it was easier. And photography was, can you say, a bit more universally appreciated. Whilst today, in a much more narrow way, great photography is appreciated. But back then, it was more universally appreciated. And a lot of the people involved with photography, like picture editors, designers and that, seem to be a lot more sensitive towards it and understand the medium better. Whilst today there's an element of flippancy and a slight element of disinterest which is permeated through, really. So I don't think the environment is so easy for young photographers. Plus, digital photography has brought in its own inherent problems, of course, where it's not so painstaking as it used to be to produce an image. Like when I'm so old now, when I first started producing images, it was really difficult to even get them to turn out. You'd say, did it come out? Whilst today, it always comes out.
Yeah, it's absolutely, if I can elaborate on what you said there, I was at the Hilton Hotel recently and I we sat down and this. I know my friend Richard Smith. Where's he here tonight? He's a proper DJ. You know, he DJs with vinyls and stuff. And we sat down, and the girl that was sitting, she was very polite. She said, "Do you want to sit here next to the DJ?" And I looked at her. I said, "That's not a DJ. That's a guy with a computer." And he gave me a filthy look. Now that was horrible of me to say that, but it comes back to what I was saying: is these days everyone with an iPhone is a photographer. Everyone with a computer is a, you know. So I think in your, I don't want to say in your time because you're still here.
Yeah.
I think it was a lot harder so people can appreciate it. And I also think it's not that people are fickle these days. I think people are just so bombarded with so much information. But
Very true, very true.
very true. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for your, for those of you who've come here tonight, and for those of you on Facebook that have tuned in. No more wine. Have tuned in. Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure. As I say, we're going to put some information at the bottom of the video, which is coming to YouTube soon. We're hoping to do the book launch here. And we're also looking to, as I say, do a exclusive interview on the whole Depeche Mode catalogue later on in the year, which will be released as a DVD. Brian, final words?
I have really enjoyed it.
Is that all yours? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Mr. Brian Griffin.
Thank you, Vaughn.